All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Maverick Spotlight. I'm Paul Allan. I work in the Minnesota State Department of Athletics, and joining me this morning is the head coach of the Minnesota State women's soccer program, Brian Bahl. Welcome, Brian, and thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thanks, PA. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Yeah, hey, it's hard to believe. I know you look like you're about 22, 23 years old, but it's, I think, been 7 years since you joined us from Upper Iowa, and we're on the brink of, once the fall resumes play, of your 8th season, and tremendous amount of success during your time with the Mavericks. And this past year, the Mavericks had another tremendous season, Brian, one of the top college programs in the country, again, with our Maverick women's soccer program, and an exciting one, another conference championship, another trip to the NCAA postseason, a nice run through the postseason there, which saw us hosting a regional tournament and some unusual things. Let's talk about what happened this past year, 19-4-1, and a nice year for Minnesota State women's soccer once again.
Yeah, obviously it was an exciting run, and looking back on it, a lot to be proud of, for our team. And I think what made this year a little extra special were some of the challenging things that we had to face. It was probably one of our more injury-riddled seasons that we've ever had, and some of those injuries were extremely significant, season-ending type injuries that also happened to be to some pretty key pieces to what we were doing. And so, I think that made the run that we ended up making a little bit sweeter. Just the fact that, at one point in the season, I think we had lost back-to-back games, and, that's not something that we're really accustomed to. And, at that given time, I think everyone kind of thought that the sky was falling in. And, I just think the resiliency of our group of young ladies that, kept their heads up and kept working every day to continue to grow and get better and fight through those challenges and obstacles. It ended up being a great conclusion, the way we got on a tear kind of through the end of the season, and we're able to do some really great things and make it one of the best seasons I think we've had, at least in our time here. And I think the question that I've gotten asked a lot is, which team was better, the 2014 team or the 2019 team, or which season was better? And obviously they were both great. That 2014 team went undefeated all year and was #1 in the nation. But that team made it through the season pretty much unscathed until the end of the season in regards to injuries and stuff. And so this year's team just had to face so much that I think it would have been interesting to see if we would have stayed healthy, what they could have done.
Yeah, some of the kids you mentioned, relative to the injuries, Dakota Wendell had a great career for us, and ended up not being available down the stretch. And we had a couple other players stretch up, as an All-American in Jenny Vetter led the country in game-winning goals and one of the top offensive players in the country, and only a sophomore. But the senior class that you had this year, the leadership that you had from that senior class, and success that those kids had over the courses of that career. You had 9 seniors. Brian has stepped up and led us through a nice run through the NSIC to the conference schedule, and obviously the postseason, and then fortunate to host a regional tournament. Let's talk about the seniors a little bit and the kids that are leaving the program.
Yeah, as an amazing group of seniors. They made contributions, in so many different ways that it's hard to even put into words what they meant to us. I think anytime you lose a group of seniors, you're sad, and you reflect back and think of all the positive things they did for your program. But this one was really extra special. I think they helped come in and set a tone in regards to the culture that we wanted to continue to have develop here. They did it in, like I said, so many different ways, from on an individual basis. Some of them made tremendous impacts on the field. Some made tremendous impacts off the field, all in areas that really helped, further the program though, and continue to make it what it is and as special as it is. So just a fantastic group, one that we're going to have a really hard time, living without. And I think what's exciting though already is so many of them have already stayed very connected to us throughout, this whole challenging time period that we've had. And I think that's a really good indicator that, we're going to be able to rely on them for years to come. And they're a great resource to be able to have for our future athletes. So.
Okay, let's talk about the schedule that you had your team go through in the fall. And of course, one of the things that I think a lot of people appreciate about how you build your schedule, Brian, you and your staff go through and try to schedule the most difficult and challenging schedule that you possibly can non-conference wise in order to prepare for that postseason. And you hosted a tournament which included two of the top programs in the country early in the season with Central Missouri and Grand Valley State, a couple of teams that you actually played right here in Mankato and brought to the pitch, and a kind of a cool thing for folks to see. Maybe one of the top Division II tournaments early in the season played right here at MSU, and you picked up a couple of nice wins there. And of course, you ended up facing Grand Valley later on. But talk about your philosophy about building that schedule and maybe run us through a little bit how things went during the course of the 2019 season for us.
Yeah, our goal whenever we build out the schedule is to try to schedule as tough as we possibly can. We want to challenge ourselves, and I think when you do challenge yourself and you have those bigger names on your schedule, team gets excited for those opportunities and for those challenges that are put in front of them, and that was how it played out this year. I think our team, when they first saw that schedule get released, it was a little bit of a shock to the system that, hey, okay, you're going to play the number 1 and number 3 team, whatever they were ranked at that time that weekend on the same weekend. And but I think that's really the kind of one of the mantras of our team is, hey, let's challenge ourselves to the fullest and see how we come out on the other side. And one way or another, it's going to make us better, and it's going to continue to help us, continue to strive to reach the goals that we have for this program. And so that was a great weekend nonetheless when those two came to town. I think I told everybody going into the weekend, we were hoping to get out of there with, at least one win. And, we thought that would be a pretty successful weekend, considering who those opponents were and how talented those two programs are. So to come out of it with 2 victories, I think really kind of set the tone and helped our team believe in even more so what we as a staff had kind of been sharing with them, that, hey, we think we've got something pretty special here, and we can make a really great run. And so to pull out 2 wins that weekend really kind of set the season off on the right foot, and built a lot of excitement moving forward.
And then you end up in the conference tournament hosting University of Marion, and of course ended in regulation, a 1-1 tie. You ended up having to go all the way to the shootout to pick up that win, and a 6-5 shootout victory over the University of Marion. Then you had to go up to Concordia in St. Paul and play a tough Augustana team in the semifinals, and then face Concordia for the championship game on their own turf, and you come away with the win there. Yeah,
Mary was really, really a challenging task for us this year. When we went to Bismarck, that was kind of at our low point of the season. We ended up losing the game to them up there. And, that was when we were going through the transition period between the team we were before the injury bug kind of hit and the team we were going to become. And so to be able to, get a shot at redemption against them was, I think, important for our team. But Mary certainly didn't make it easy, again, taking us to penalties, and we were fortunate enough to come out of that. And sometimes I think a team, when you get to that point of the season, you need a little challenge, a little test like that to kind of set the tone. I think it's kind of a good thing for a postseason run, and it gave us what we needed, I think, to get pushed to the brink. And then, I think we played 2 of our best games moving forward in the semifinals in the championship game of the conference tournament. Augustana threw a bunch of new things at us in that game, and it made life a little bit difficult. But we played really, really well that day, and that was great to see. And then again, going into the championship game, kind of the same type of mentality was, hey, we've got some redemption here that we want to try to accomplish, and we were able to do that. And so it was a great way to cap off the conference part of the season.
And then you end up going to the NCAA postseason, of course, hosting sub-regional and regional championship games. And By that time of the year, when you're playing in late November, early December, Brian, the weather turns, as we know, a little colder and a little windier, especially here in Minnesota. And you end up playing Augustana, and a team you're familiar with on your own turf, and picking up a win there to advance to the next phase, and ended up hosting that regional championship tournament with Grand Valley State, Indianapolis, Central Missouri coming to Mankato, and calls. A couple things happened there. Not only do you win your first game there to advance to the Elite Eight, but we ended up playing some games for the first time in the Maverick All Sports Dome. Kind of a unique situation there. So walk us through the tournament there, and the excitement that we had on campus with our program of playing those NCAA tournament games right here in Mankato that weekend.
Yeah, just starting out with that first game, against Augustana, it's always challenging having to face a team for the third time in a season, especially in such short succession. And so, to get through that game, I think we were nervous going into that just because of the fact that it was the third time and stuff. And so to get through that and get another opportunity to play Central Missouri for the second time in a Sweet 16 game, it was a lot of fun. And like you said, getting it moved into the dome, kind of that week was very chaotic with the weather and field conditions, and a lot of debate going back and forth on where those games were going to be played that weekend. And obviously we loved the pitch, and we would have loved to have played the games there. But it was a pretty cool experience being able to be the first event in the All Sports Dome. And it was 60 degrees, I think, in there, where outside that weekend it was like lucky to make 10 degrees. So much more pleasant game experience from that standpoint of things. And to get in there and beat Central Missouri in that first ever event in the Dome and have that type of an atmosphere. I think our administration did an amazing job. I think you guys all kind of understood, that was a big deal to leave the pitch and stuff for that magnitude of a game, and to still have the really special feel and atmosphere that I think the Dome provided that day was tremendous. And so we were grateful as a team for that, and for it to play out the way it did and advance to Elite Eight, win a regional championship was a lot of fun.
Couple of things for you, Brian. I know we pride ourselves on the toughness of our student athletes, women's soccer in particular. Having seen us play on the pitch in challenging conditions in the past, I know our kids would have been out there, would have embraced it. Probably wouldn't have been wearing sleeves or sweats or anything like that, and like sort of like the old Minnesota Vikings or Green Bay Packers playing outdoors. I know that we made a push to play those games outdoors, and then you talked about the discussion that went forward. And nevertheless, so proud of what we did, not only hosting those games, but certainly how our team. I didn't hear any complaints from any of our kids or staff about coming inside. I thought. Again, in fact, I thought we were proud to be playing in there, and sort of being able to showcase the fact that we have these tremendous facilities and a support staff that worked really hard to put on a good show for the student athletes and make sure everybody, as much as possible, had a great experience, and not only coming to Mankato, but playing those games here that weekend. And then, of course, the level of competition. Of course, we ended up playing Grand Valley State in that championship game, a team that we'd beaten earlier in the year, but came full throttle into Mankato, obviously, with some momentum after their MIAA tournament championship, and a team that went on to win a national championship. That shows where we are with this program, and extremely proud of how your squad answered the bell during the course of the season with the challenges they faced, and then in the postseason and hosting those games.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think we knew, in order to get to the Final Four, our paths were going to cross with Grand Valley again. And they, that by that point in the season, we're clicking on all cylinders, and had really come to the full fruition of what their team was. And, I said it at the time of that game that I really believed 100% that was the national championship game that was played in the Dome against them in that Elite Eight game. And they eventually went on, obviously, to win the national title. And so nothing to hang our heads about. We gave it a valiant effort. fell down early in that game. We're able to pull a couple goals back, make it really interesting. Had an opportunity to even put the game to 4-3, and had that happened, the dome would have maybe blown up already because it was getting interesting. But didn't go our way. They ended up getting another one, and things ended there. But still amazing run, and it was great while it lasted, and nothing to hang our heads about.
So your squad in 2019 wins its fourth straight NSIC championship, Brian, and our ninth consecutive trip to the NCAA tournament. And I know that once the season ends, how coaches are, and the first thing they start thinking about is how can we do that again? And you bid adieu to your large senior class and thank them for everything that they did. And at the same time, you start preparing for the next season, and you have 11 kids scheduled, or maybe I think we announced a transfer here recently as well. And so you got a large group of newcomers coming in as well. And normally this time of year, you'd be in your off-season mode and in training. We do have normally our playing games this time of year, exhibition games in the part of our spring preparation for the next fall. And of course, everybody's been disrupted by COVID-19, and we're no different than anyone else in that respect. So let's talk a little bit about how the off-season has been going and how the disruption of what everybody's facing with the coronavirus has affected you and your program.
Yeah, well, first we had an amazing spring schedule lined up. Again, want to challenge ourselves, and so we felt really good about the schedule we had set up. We kind of started mid-January when everybody got back, and the ladies got rolling with stuff right away in the weight room, and we had different trainings. We were able to take advantage of the dome with different training sessions, and so the winter and spring part of the year really kicked off to be really, really new and fresh and exciting because there was so much difference, so many differences that we were going through. But, I think we made some early growth in the time that we were able to be together. And, I think that would have certainly carried through these latter months of the off season and, through those games that we had scheduled. But that wasn't meant to be. And so we've had to adapt and adjust. And, to be honest, we haven't been, super crazy with what we've asked of the team. We're fortunate that we have a really, really special group that's responsible and mature and really committed to, what they're doing and what we want to do as a program moving forward. So we've put a lot of trust in the team to, basically we've provided resources to them and asked them to kind of take it on their shoulders to do what they can in some really challenging circumstances. And I'm sure they've done that. We've had an opportunity to meet on a weekly basis via Zoom, and it's great to see those faces and kind of hear their updates. But I think the thing we're missing the most is just that daily interaction that we're able to have with each other. It's one thing, to be able to see each other on a screen, but it's just it's lacking some of the normal things. And we're a program that's built on family and really looking after each other and being there for each other, and that family atmosphere. We're trying to make it stay as strong as possible, but it's just not the same when you can't be face to face. So can't wait till the day comes that we're able to all be back together.
All right, thanks a lot for joining us today, Brian. I know even though you're working out of your house like everyone else, you're keeping busy with stuff. And why don't you tell us how you and your family are coping with some of the challenges you face with what's been going on lately?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's 5 of us here, a dog, 2 cats, and we've got a full house and lots of things, I think, to entertain us. And I think the thing has been trying to create some type of routine so that every day doesn't seem to be the same. I had somebody say it seems like Groundhog Day over and over again. But no, it's been good. It's created an opportunity for a lot of family time that maybe we don't get, and we're very busy with a lot of kids' activities normally, and so it's very hustle and bustle all the time in regular situations. So this has kind of slowed life down a little bit and maybe allowed us to appreciate each other a little bit more and hang out and do some things that we wouldn't normally get the opportunity to do. So trying to be the half the glass half full guy and stay positive as we possibly can and take advantage of what the situation presents. But nonetheless, anxious to get the Mav fam all back together. So.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for joining us today, and wishing you all the best in the coming weeks. And hopefully we can get together and share a coffee on campus sooner than later, right?
Sounds great. Thanks, PA. Roll Mavs.
All right. Talk to you soon, Brian.